Okay, the key to success to any home work project is to make sure you've got everything planned out. You've got all the tools, you've got all the equipment, supplies, consumables, and in this case, of course, even a drop cloth. Oh, my cat was sitting on it. So this is just a cheap drop cloth, and what we're gonna try and do is get that under there because we know we're gonna be generating an awful lot of paint. And probably that paint goes back a long time, so it may even have some lead in it. Which, I'm a pretty old guy, so lead isn't going to affect my learning disability much at this stage, so I'm not too worried about it. And there we are, we're covered up on the floor. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a tradesman. I don't do this for a living. I've wanted to just kind of do little things on this house, 60-year-old house at a time. I've done quite a bit so far. This is one of the last steps, and of course it's one of the first things you see when you drive by on our busy street is your door. So I actually don't even know what's underneath here. It could be a really good solid piece of wood that we might want to bring up and polish and varnish, or it could be just a really ugly piece of fur, in which case we'll probably just repaint it again. One thing I don't want to do is try to redo this door and put a new one in. It just isn't worth it. They can cost thousands of dollars. Okay, so this is a door. It's the front door to my house. It's probably the original door, so that means it's close to 60 years old. That means I'm not real keen on removing it and replacing it because it's going to be an odd size and the hardware is going to be sort of really set in place. My first choice is to try and refinish this door. It's had so many coats of paint on it already that I don't want to put another one on and just make it, it'll still look ugly. So I got to get the paint off. Now normally we might use a sander for that, but if you've ever used a sander on a lot of thick paint, it's going to just clog it up and you'll go through dozens, maybe even hundreds of sheets of sanding paper. Plus it's hard work. Plus, if it's an orbital sander, I won't be able to use the weight of the machine, which you count on, to sand it. So I'll be pushing up against this door, and that is going to be a lot of hard work for a lazy guy like me. So what we're going to do, and of course there's another option. You can use chemical stripping. I think it's a methylene hydrate, but that's really bad news. I'm telling you, you don't want to be doing that. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for your health, and it's expensive, and it's a big mess, to be honest with you. So we've got a heat thing. Now, some of you may remember the old days there was kind of a hair dryer thing. You went on and you scraped a little bit. Well, guess what? They've got this new machine. Well, it's new to me. I've never seen one before. There you go. I don't know what it's called, but that's what it looks like. And I can see it glowing red, an infrared heater. It's really simple, actually. It adjusts up and down. And what I'm going to do is this thing's set right now. I'm just going to set at fairly hot and fairly close to the door. Now, we know that this being a dark door, it's not going to take much to put this on. So all I'm going to do is just put that on there like that. I need a door stop. And of course, I've got plastic sheet on the floor. You want to have that on there to protect it. And I'm going to wait a few minutes until it heats up nice and good. And then that should allow me to go in there. Don't want to have it smoking and burning down the door. So let's see what we got. Oh, look at that. And that, you see how easy that came off? Brilliant. Now I will still have to sand this because you can see there's some goop in between the grain of the wood. It looks like a decent door. I'm not a wood guy, who knows what it is, but it's certainly going to look a lot better than the brown crap that was on there, and it's going to be a pretty easy job. Not a lot of effort required to do this. Make sure you got plastic sheet on there. What I'll do is I'm going to go through and do most of the door. We'll take a look at it when it's all finished, and then you can decide what you think of it, okay? Looks like it's going to be pretty easy, a lot easier if I'm not filming. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and you know what? Maybe I'll just leave it on for a while so you can just see what I'm doing, and I'll just fast forward it. I don't know what kind of paint this is. Could be lead paint, but you know what? My age, I'm an old guy. It's not like I'm learning anything anyway. Telling me that you get learning disabled with lead. Yeah. So I didn't leave this one on long enough, apparently. And let's start to count. 1. Now, take a look at all that. That's probably lead in there, who knows what else is going on. And that is an awful lot of paint. And if you were doing it the old-fashioned way with an orbital sander, or even worse, one of those vibrating sanders, all that would have to be going into both the combination of dust and clogged up sandpaper, a nightmare. So what I'm gonna do now is bring this up close so you can see how much smoke is coming off before each one that I do. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there we are. Let's take a look. You can actually count. You can see the smoke starting to come up on the left side there. There's Coco. She's here to help. Okay, now it's really starting to smoke up. You can see it down in there. You don't want to quite burn the door down. And that's a lot of smoke. So I'm going to take that off. You can see it bubbling. And now we're going to just get a nice close-up of that. Watch that. Now I'm only using one hand. I don't have anything to balance myself with, but and I'm trying to look at the camera at the same time, so it's not easy. So, there you go. Now you see, these are the sorts of things that really scare me. That hinge has been in there since the beginning of time, at least the beginning of the time of this house. And when you start going in there, and especially with these old flatheads, they're probably not very long. They're probably soft and maybe a bit rusty in there because it's an outside door. And when we try to remove that, if we did, it would be really hard to get it back in and get it aligned properly. So I'm nervous about unhinging that door. Even with the pins themselves, they're probably rusted in pretty good as well. If anybody's ever done that, it's certainly almost impossible as a one-man job, and that's what I am, a one-man job. All right, so this is, by the way, where we're gonna go. There's my dishwasher, and the other side of the door. Am I going to do the other side of the door? That is the question. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to decide. I've got the machine for 24 hours, so physically I can do it. Do I feel like doing it? I don't know. Okay, so we're making good progress here. This door, by the time we're done, it's looking like it's gonna take probably 2 hours to strip it down. Now, of course, this is just the first layer. I look at it this way. Each one of these pretty thick, that's actually a fair amount of paint there, is at least one sanding disc and a whole lot of elbow grease. Believe me, this is a lot easier, so this is definitely the way to go. You got to be careful. Obviously, you can overheat it, get a few brown spots on there, but I'm going to keep on going until we get this all the way down. I might go nuts and do the other side of the door too. It's just as ugly. And then, of course, we still do need to take an orbital sander. Now, by the way, one of the main reasons we're doing it this way is because I'm really leery about taking off this door and trying to finish it on a flat surface, because in my experience in these old houses with old doors, these screws, flathead screws, really difficult to get out, let alone get back in again. I'd probably replace them, but they're rusted, they're in there, they could easily break off in there, and then you've got a nightmare and you have to reframe the whole door. In an old house like this, it's just really something you don't want to do unless you absolutely have to. So this is a good solid door. There's no real need to replace it. It's set in place. It'll probably go down with the house over the next few years when this house is eventually brought down to its knees and we rebuild again. All right, so I'm going to continue on with the bottom half now. And that's appropriate music, because you know what that song is? It's by, yes, you got it, The Doors. It's an area you want to be careful in because there's nothing on the edge there, and so you can easily gouge that if you're not careful. So, you know, once the hardware is off and we've got around this porthole up here, it's just a matter of going back and forth. It's pretty easy right now. And I gave up on the counting thing, so now I'm just sort of looking for when a little bit of smoke starts to appear. That seems to be the best time to do it. You can almost smell it. There you go. See that? Look at that. Oh, that's hot. That is hot. Jim, stop that. Quiet down there. All right, so you go. If Jim Morrison only knew how much joy he was giving us 40 years later, stripping doors down. Maybe he did know. Maybe that was the whole point. Maybe he named the band The Doors because he knew guys like me were going to be doing doors another 40 years later. He'd be like, what, 70 something else, in his 70s? It's hard to imagine. Oh God, there we go. Pay attention, Percy, pay attention. Oh, you're waiting here anyway, you may as well do them. That is an awful lot of saved sandpaper and elbow grease, let me tell you. But, and of course we know that it would be different if the door was a different color, like white, and probably take a lot longer. This is dark color brown, so it's going to absorb the heat, especially this infrared heat here, a lot easier. Oh yeah, way better. Purdy. It's not really a putty knife, it's a scraper, you can tell, because there's not much flex in that. It doesn't need to be sharp, just enough to get in there. Okay, with my belt sander, this is pretty short work. Now, the thing with a belt sander is this has got a lot of sanding power on it. And if you go on this door, or really any piece of wood, doesn't matter whether it's a floor, a door, or porch that I'm going to do in a little while, you got to make sure that you're in a position to be able to move that belt sander lightly and rapidly across, because if you don't, it tends to dig in, and then you're going to have a nice, big, ugly gouge in your door, or any thing that you're sanding. So what we're going to do is, and of course we always want to go with the grain. We're not going to go against the grain, so we can clearly see the grain is going this way. This is a variable speed. I like to get the job done fast, so it goes anywhere from 1, very slow. You might want to start up there, and all the way up there to 5. That's really moving. Now I've got a 100 grit sandpaper. That's kind of the finishing one. That's the one you want to end up with. Prior to this, of course, I took the paint off with a heat stripper that you can see earlier in this video. I've come to the floor. The whole purpose of this exercise with this door is to try to do it while the door is in place, because first of all, I'm by myself, which makes it really difficult to take a door off, let alone put back on. And 2, the hardware and the mounting system for the door is rather old, and I'm not confident that if I took it off, I'll get it back in again, because it's not something that you really get many chances with. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of dust, but not a lot, because these things all come with dust bags in the back here. So let's take a look at this. As you can see, I've done most of the door already. It's pretty smooth. I was thinking about actually going with the natural finish on this door, but I didn't know what was underneath it until I started to get into it. And as I stripped it, I see basically this is a cheap door for the time whenever it was put in, probably when the house was built. You can tell because there's little eye marks in here where they put in for the defects of the wood there. That just would not look good if I tried to varnish that up and make it a nice, smooth, original wood door shine. So I'm basically prepping this up properly so it can be nice and smooth. Can apply a good coat of some kind of urethane. Up here it's called Varathane. I'm not sure what you've got in your market, but it'll be probably a water-based, good, thick coat on there, clear coat. And I'll put it on with some black color inside it, so I'll make the door look nice. Okay, let's go to town on this. And this has got two sides on it. Obviously, I can't go down because the bag's in the way, so I have to go this way, which means I'm right-handed, and I'm gonna have to go like this. Make sure the cord's out of the way. Don't want to sand the cord. The rental company would not be happy. Okay, meet my little dog Coco, a Chinese crested hairless. You didn't do much help in the job. She's not the smartest dog in the world, but come on, that is a cute dog. All right, the door obviously is finished. You can see it's been totally stripped and now repainted. We can't get Varathane in Canada, which is a polyurethane finish, so I've had to use this basically a crappy acrylic finish, but it's okay. It's got a sort of semi-gloss. I was hoping to get like a real shiny look in your face mirror type finish on it. Don't ask me about the lion thing. Olga wanted to do that, so I threw it on there. The original door knocker. Now, let's take a look at the door handle. Here, refinished that and took it all apart and put it back in. I was told that that original hardware was worth into the thousands, so I made a great effort to keep it. It's in solid working order. Put a deadbolt back into the same place, had to drill it out. Most importantly though, the door did not have to come off at any point during the whole process of stripping it all down. And essentially it closes and opens just like it did before we even started this project. Total time in, probably about 8 hours less travel back and forth to the rental store for the stripper and paint, of course, etc. Tools minimal. That stripper, of course, sander, total dollar value in this thing, probably including the paint, a couple $100 and a day. So if that's worth it to you, do it. This turned out to be a cheap door, not exactly a really expensive one. If it was an expensive one, I would have completely refinished and it had a natural clear coat finish on it. But I wasn't that lucky. And by the way, Varathane is available, but only in the clear version, not in the black colored, which is what I was hoping to get. That's why I didn't use it. So if it was natural wood, you could still use Varathane and that would look just awesome on a door, especially a nice high gloss one. So that ends this project on my old house and some of the renovations I've done. Thank you.